stay with our nose into the wind. We just got out of the Gulf in the perfect time. We're like, it's rocky coming in, but we just got in with all this mess. But right, you can see back here, the wind and the storm's coming right over.
Look at it.
He is soft.
I'm Heather, and this is Randall. And this is our floating home downtime, soon to be Jubilee. Have you ever thought about breaking free and charting a new course? Well, we sold our house, left the 9-to-5, and prepared for an adventure of a lifetime. Join us in our altered course.
Hi, I'm Randall.
And I'm Heather.
And welcome to our channel, Altered Course. If you've been following us from our first episode, then you know that we've been working to get you caught up to our current real time. In our last episode, we bought a 1998 Tartan 3800 sailboat.
In this next episode, you're going to be able to come along with us as we move onto the boat, do our first shakedown cruise, and then prep for a Gulf crossing.
We are back at the boat in Panama City. We plan to do a full walkthrough of our 1998 Tartan 3800. But for now, here's a quick sneak peek just to get the feel and flow of the boat. We're starting in the cockpit. You can see it's an aft cockpit sailboat. Plenty of space to entertain, hang out. She has a fairly new Dodger, bimini, and connector. And going up on deck, you'll see we started to finally move our stuff on board. She has a traditional mainsail with lazy jack lines, 2-spreader. We love the stainless steel portholes and just enough teak to keep things warm, cozy, but not too much maintenance. Downtime has a sizable anchor locker, a roller furling Genoa, and a 44-pound Rockna anchor.
As you come down the companionway, we have our galley on the starboard side. And then you'll see here we've got the nav station on the port side, a beautiful salon with a V-berth, one head, and an aft cabin.
We took possession of Downtime in February, and at this time, Heather's still back in Nashville finishing out her job. I was still in need of as much saltwater experience as I could get before we take off. So I was in luck. A good friend of mine and a Marine bought a Cape Dory 33 in Palatka, Florida.
Say hello to the world, Randall.
What's going on, world? He asked if I could help deliver it to St. Augustine, and I was there in a jiffy. We had some pretty gnarly conditions coming up the St. John's, but from Jacksonville down the ICW, it was nothing but smooth sailing. It's now late March, and we're back at the marina, and we've got our hands full with a few minor projects, primarily getting stuff cleaned up, making sure a lot of the systems work.
What'd you forget?
Oh, the kill switch.
Yeah. Okay. What's going on in here?
Well, we're pulling out all the old batteries, the AGMs, and installing new lithium iron phosphate batteries. So,
What's the benefit of that?
I mean, several benefits. The amount of power that we'll have, it'll be approximately doubled, but the weight is a little less than half as well. The only downside is cost, really, and it wires up a little bit differently. It's not exactly. And installing the first part of our electrical system, including 440 watts of solar and 600 amp hours of lithium iron phosphate batteries.
We were prepping for at least one crew member for a multi-day crossing and needed to replace the wood under the starboard side saloon. With a quick trip to Lowe's and some plywood, I was able to use the old piece of wood as a pattern, trace it out, make a few cuts, and finished it in a penetrating epoxy. In the head, we had planned to replace the head pump, but turns out after taking it apart, giving it a good cleaning, some extra lube, it actually ended up working out perfectly.
The denizens of the dock are taking care of Miss Heather.
That's right.
Way beyond what you could possibly imagine.
There is so much to say about the cruising boating community. Not only are they phenomenal cooks, but everyone is so quick to help and lend a hand. From cockpit conversations, walkabouts in a new place, and doing boat projects together, our little boating community has quickly become our family.
Heather and I spent the next week bouncing around St. Andrews Bay from anchorage to anchorage. We tried every system over and over again, hit every point of sail, and really put the boat through its paces. Thankfully, nothing too crazy went wrong. We did have a transmission cable that needed to be replaced. But unfortunately, the windlass didn't work the very first time that we tried to lower the anchor. So we went back towards Watson Bayou and anchored right out in front of the marina. After a few days of constant rainstorms, the new windlass finally arrived, and I pulled the old windlass as well as the base that the windlass was mounted to. The base needed to be modified just a bit to fit the new windlass. The new windlass has the solenoid built into its body, whereas the old windlass, it was a separate piece, so it was a little taller, and of course the bolt hole patterns didn't quite match up. So I shaved off as much as I could and widened the mount as much as I could. The mount was basically a piece of cedar that had been fiberglassed over. So I epoxied in some marine ply and a couple of layers of fiberglass. With the new windlass working, we were ready to hit the Gulf.
This heart beats to the sound of a brand new song. These eyes can't be bound to the same four walls. Oh, I traveler.
Let's get it, dude.
To all kinds of places, new faces.
This was the moment when it really became real for us. Pushing off the dock may have been the most surreal and vulnerable experience. There were countless times on this passage that we would just look at each other or just sigh like, we did it. We actually did it. And the best part, it's just the beginning.
It's beautiful, it seems like a silent song.
For me, this trip was magical. We saw so many things that we never thought we would see with our own eyes. We had perfect weather. We sailed almost the entire time, with just a few squalls popping up here and there, but off in the distance, so they were really no threat. In the 3 days that it took to cross the Gulf, we saw one other boat. It was amazing sailing. Looking back, I'm not sure it set the right expectations, as probably 5% of the time is it this perfect. We pointed the bow towards Clearwater, Florida, not for any other particular reason except that we were familiar with the city and had been there. After staying on anchor for a day, we decided it was way too busy here for us. And even with our smaller boat, a 38-footer, we were one of the bigger boats in the bay. We had some friends who were in Gulfport, Florida, just south of here, and they were raving about the little town, so we did something that we won't ever do again. We picked up the anchor, and in less than an hour, we were underway without checking the weather and without a detailed check of the chart.
What do we have to do?
We're just trying to stay with our nose into the wind. We just got out of the Gulf in the perfect time. We're like, rocky coming in, we just got in with all this mess. But right, you can see back here, the wind and the storm's coming from right over these homes. So we're keeping our nose right here, and we're using those as shields.
We made ourselves a little protected. anchor. So basically
Yeah.
stop.
Well, we're ready to anchor if we needed to.
Yeah.
Just anchor right in here.
How much further do we gotta go to get to our destination?
I do think there's some stuff in the water right back here, so
Okay.
trying to keep from
Flowing into that.
getting over there.
Do you want to go ahead? Do you think we should go ahead and anchor?
Well,
or?
no. What's the wind like right now? I think it
It
feels like it's dying down.
9.5
All right.
knots.
We could probably try to kind of ease this way,
Okay.
but we could probably try to maybe make the bridge now.
Okay.
Thankfully, we were able to get through the inlet just enough to get some protection, right as a couple of Coast Guard fast movers were heading out the inlet. When the winds calmed down and the rain subsided, we motored under the Pinellas Bay Bridge and into the Boca Ciega Bay. And after a squirrely route to the mooring field, we found our friends, and they were already in a dinghy to help us catch our first mooring ball. We were starting to feel at home here in Gulfport, Florida. And after a little exploration of the town, we could see why so many cruisers choose to stay here in Boca Ciega Bay throughout the hurricane season.
From stepping off the dinghy dock, I immediately fell in love. From the bright colors, the luscious greenery, and the adorable restaurants and quaint coffee shops. This little town is a cruiser's dream.
This well-protected bay, beautiful little town, and great community was starting to feel a bit like home. I knew that it would be a difficult decision to press on to North Carolina or stick around here in Gulfport. We have got a decision to make.